mine. Yes, we did. Thank you. Are there shirts this year or not? Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Can I ask you to take your seats and quiet down? This is a nice crowd to see everyone here. Thank you for coming. May I have the roll call, please?
Council members Elliott.
Here.
Rogie.
Here.
Fitzhenry.
Here.
Sandal.
Here.
Mayor Gotel.
Here. Tonight we have two folks for the open forum. We do have one speaker who wishes to speak on Pillsbury Commons, which we also have a public hearing. I'll ask council members if we'd like to defer to the public hearing time to have this speaker.
We're okay to do that, right?
Yeah, public hearing? Okay. So Mr. DeSantis, we will have you speak, but we'll have you speak at the public hearing portion in the agenda. Excuse
Madam
me.
Mayor, if I could just clarify, the public hearing isn't on the proposed rezoning. The public hearing is only on the proposed TIF plan modification. So
Correct. We don't know exactly what he's going to speak on, though.
yeah, anybody who wants to speak related to something other than the TIF plan modification, that would be appropriate for open forum,
Okay.
because it is not appropriate during the
Agreed.
public hearing on the TIF modification.
Okay, and is this not in regards to any TIF? Mr. DeSantis? Are you interested in speaking on the TIF? Okay,
interested in
then
number
we'll ask you to hold your comments till then. Okay. All right, thank you.
I'm sorry, I have a couple of items that I wanted to address that are not, that are in regards to number 7, 9, and 10.
You need to be.
I can put it in.
We have another speaker, Andy Hartle. Would you please come forward, state your name and address, sign in, please, and thank you for coming tonight.
Yeah.
Yes?
Connect, but the open forum is only for matters that are not on the agenda, and
correct.
I was not thinking, all of those items are on the agenda.
Okay.
So the issue for the council is, are you going to allow public comment on those items that are on the agenda? You are not required to allow public comment on those items. If you do want to allow public comment, then the appropriate time is when those items are called. And the public hearing, obviously, is a public hearing. Anybody could comment at that time. But the only comments that are appropriate during the public hearing are the TIF modifications. I apologize.
Council, it's a decision if you want to have Ghislaine Ball come up and speak on the other items.
Sorry. Could you repeat that one more time? Are you saying that we should
What I'm
wait
saying,
for?
what I'm saying is that items 7 and 9 and 10 and any of the other items, every item other than item 8 on the agenda, those are items that are on the agenda, but you are not required to allow public comment during those items because they are not public hearings. So it's not appropriate because they are on the agenda. It's not appropriate to allow comment during open forum. You need to make a decision whether you're going to allow people to comment when those items come up. That's the issue.
Now, but we should
Correct.
think about it when they're
As they come
as
up.
they come up.
Yes, if we want to hear things. Okay?
Thanks. Yep.
So I'm sorry, Ghislaine, you will not be asked to speak at the public forum. We may ask for comment during the agenda item, okay? And we have with us Andy. Andy, please.
My name is Andy Hartle. I live at 6332 17th Avenue. And I just wanted to say that I and my neighbors there on 17th do really appreciate the efforts that you guys are making now to get us out of there. Conditions continue to worsen over there for us on that street, and so it really will be helpful to get us out of there. So, also, I called my bank today, and they're going to stay open tonight for me to bring the check over. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Okay.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd ask everyone to stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance up here. At this time, I'd ask for the approval of the minutes of the special city council work session of June 12th, 2012.
So moved.
Second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries. Tonight, we have a couple of presentations. I will ask that Philip Lowe join me at the mic here for the presentation of the Jean and Mary Jacobson Outstanding Citizen of the Year Award.
My name is Philip Lowe, and I am the chair for the Richfield Human Rights Commission. At this time, I would also like to invite up our associate chair, Nancy Roberts, Commissioner Teresa Cruz, and Commissioner Elizabeth Wentz. At this time, I am going to ask Elizabeth to speak as we prepare to make this award, present this award.
On behalf of the Human Rights Commission, I can affirm that Patrick Richard Olson has made Richfield a better place and was the best candidate for this award.
At this point in time, we would like to ask Patrick R. Olson, the recipient of the award, to come forward.
Yes, first of all, congratulations and thank you for serving the community. I'd like to read this Certificate of Recognition, 2012, Jean and Mary Jacobson, Outstanding Citizen of the Year. Whereas Pat Olson is a recipient of the 40th Annual Jean and Mary Jacobs Outstanding Citizen Award presented by the Richfield Human Rights Commission because his actions demonstrate an awareness and commitment to the attitudes and practices that foster human understanding, tolerance, and the spirit of human relations. And whereas Mr. Olson has unselfishly volunteered his talents, time, and enthusiasm for over 12 years coaching youth sports, and whereas Mr. Olson has coached girls softball, boys baseball, boys hockey, and football, and does so in a manner that includes all youth no matter what their skill levels. And whereas Mr. Olson creates other activities to encourage youth, such as the player of the game ball, and each player receives at least once, and the father versus son baseball game at the end of the baseball season. And whereas Mr. Olson has also volunteered his DJ company, Pro Music, that he owns and operates for many of the City of Richfield community and school events. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Debbie Gotel, Mayor of the City of Richfield, and the Richfield City Council members do hereby recognize Pat Olson for his diverse service, dedication, and caring personal involvement for the youth of Richfield as truly demonstrating the values and practices recognized by the Outstanding Citizen of the Year Award, presented this 26th day, June 2012.
Certainly. It was a surprise to me when my mother-in-law nominated me, and I'm very grateful for the chance to receive this award, and I'm really grateful for the citizens of Richfield and the people that are involved in my coachings and teachings of the youth and all the stuff that I'm involved with in Richfield. And I want to say a special thanks to my family who support me, because without them, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. Thanks again.
Our Richfield Human Rights Commission exists to work towards ending discrimination and working towards policies and advising City Council of things to better human rights in the City of Richfield. And so it is my privilege to be a commissioner and to chair the meetings, and the process by which we decided that Pat Olson would receive the award was an honor for all of us. And we always have open spaces on the Human Rights Commission, and we'd love to have more join us. Thank you.
This is always a great award to be able to do every year, and usually there's somebody also sitting in the parade. Will there be somebody in the parade as well this year for the Mary Gina Jacobson Award? Will they be in the parade this year? No? Yes? Okay, all right, okay. Next, we have another presentation, and this is a certificate of appreciation for the Richfield 4th of July. And I have a couple of people I hope are going to join me up here at the podium once again. You know, the Richfield 4th of July just goes back so many, many years, and we're so grateful for all the people who come together and volunteer to make our 4th of July happen. This is an event that starts several days before the 4th of July and ends several days after the 4th of July, but it wouldn't be without new blood and volunteers and people keeping this alive that we would have this 4th of July event. This is not a city-sponsored event. It is a volunteer-sponsored event with assistance from the city. We partner with them. But we just want to say thank you. There's been so many wonderful years and so many volunteers, so I want to give a great round of appreciation here from the City Council to these folks, and then you're going to give us a rundown on the festivities, right? And if you need more volunteers, this is the time to pitch again, too. This is a certificate of appreciation for the Richfield 4th of July Committee. Whereas the City of Richfield has hosted the 4th of July celebration since 1980, and whereas the event is a celebration of our nation's history, as well as a show of unity and community spirit and cooperation in Richfield, and whereas the event is well loved by people all over the region, producing a significant economic benefit to Richfield, and whereas the event boasts one of the most spectacular firework displays and attracts over 30,000 viewers, and the parade continues to entertain thousands of spectators with over 90 floats and parade units. And whereas the annual celebration would not be possible without the great efforts of many generous volunteers every year. And whereas the Richfield 4th of July Committee spends countless hours and their own time planning, preparing, and fundraising to put on a successful event year after year. Now therefore be resolved that Debbie Gotel, Mayor of the City of Richfield, and the Richfield City Council do hereby proclaim our great appreciation of the 4th of July Committee and all its members, past and present, for the devotion and tireless work that makes this celebration possible every year. Proclaim this 26th day of June 2012.
Thank you, Mayor Gotel. My name is Andrew Sefford, and this is Katie Robison, and we represent the Richfield 4th of July Planning Committee. And thank you, first of all, for having us and allowing us to publicize the events of the 4th of July weekend, which starts this Saturday at 1 o'clock when the carnival starts, and which will be operating for 5 days, running through Wednesday, July 4th. And the highlighted events this year are going to be Family Night on July 2nd, and then the car show on Tuesday, July 3rd, followed by the 33rd Annual Street Dance, which is on Tuesday, July 2nd, and then the highlights, July 3rd, thank you, Pat. And then the highlights, of course, are going to be the parade and the fireworks. The parade is at 1 o'clock on July 4th on its traditional route, and then the fireworks are going to be 30 minutes long this year, and they start at 10 o'clock in Veterans Park. And thank you for mentioning that this is a volunteer organization. We have a lot of people who spend a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of their own money planning the 4th of July activities. And so it means a lot to us for you to recognize us tonight. So thanks again. And be sure to go to www.richfield4thofjuly.com if you're interested in researching any of the events to find out when things happen. And we are still happy to accommodate last minute volunteers. Thanks again.
Can we have Andrew tell us who's playing this year? I think
Oh, yeah, Andrew,
they would
who's
like to
playing?
know the answer
What's
to
the
that
band?
one. The
Rockin'
Rockin' Hollywoods are
Hollywoods.
back.
Excellent, excellent. Okay. Seeing no other things, we'll move to the council discussion. Hats off to Hometown Hits. Councilmember Fitzhenry?
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to thank the people of Duluth. A lot of people don't know, I was up there 2 weeks before the flood net. We were looking for a lost aircraft, and they were fantastic. And I was devastated by when I saw the floods and that. And they were the greatest people that we had dealt with helping us out. And I hope that some people look into their hearts to go up and help them. Because there's a lot of volunteers needed. I'm planning on going up and helping with the floods, but they're a great bunch of people, and I think they need our help. So.
Thanks. Councilmember Sandal.
I just wanted to say, to give some recognition for Katie Robeson, who was standing up here as well and didn't get introduced. And I want to point out that she was in the same Richfield High School graduating class as my daughter would have been in. So it's nice to have a new generation stepping up and working on the Richfield 4th of July. So thank you to both Andrew and Katie.
Councilmember Rogan?
I have nothing.
Other than saying that I'm looking forward to all the fun and excitement the upcoming week, I'm pretty silent this evening also.
Yeah, I'll be serving beer again, folks. The late shift.
I do have one thing I forgot.
Go ahead.
I'm just going to keep announcing it. I never quite make it myself, but I want other people to go. It turns out I'm always got something going on Thursday nights. But there is another concert in the park at Augsburg Park at 7 o'clock. It's 35 degrees north, and I have no idea if somebody in the audience knows what kind of a group it is. Maybe we don't know, but it ought to be interesting. So that's at 7 o'clock in the park, and the fun continues.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you. And ask for council approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
The consent calendar, city manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. For those at home and those viewing here, the consent calendar contains several separate items which are acted upon by the City Council in one motion. Once the consent calendar has been approved, the individual items and the recommended actions will also have been approved, and no further council action on those items will be necessary. Tonight we have 6 items on the consent calendar, beginning with item A, which is consideration of approval of a resolution declaring the adoption by the city of the 10 performance measures and performance measures system as developed by the Legislative Council on Local Results and Innovation. Item B is consideration of approval of award of contract to Mankey Brothers Outdoor to install landscaping for the final phase of the Honoring All Veterans Memorial in the amount of $30,832. Item C is consideration of approval of award of contract to Murphy Granite Carving Incorporated to install remaining granite features for the final phase of the Honoring All Veterans Memorial in the amount of $32,297. Item D is consideration of approval of community celebration event license with a request for fee waiver and a temporary on-sale intoxicating liquor license for the 4th of July Committee for events scheduled to take place at Veterans Memorial Park July 1st through July 5th, 2012. Item E is consideration of approval of a temporary on-sale 3.2% malt liquor license for the Minneapolis Richfield American Legion Post 435. That's at 6501 Portland Avenue South for activities scheduled to take place on July 4th, 2012. And finally, consideration of approval of first reading of an ordinance rezoning the property at 301 77th Street West, commonly referred to as the Candlewood Outlot, from mixed-use community to planned mixed use. And that concludes tonight's consent calendar.
I'll move the consent calendar.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Comments? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent calendar is moved. Councilmember Sandal, you have item 7.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is a request for a reconsideration of the land sale. And on May 8th, 2012, Richfield Properties Limited 1, Limited Partnership Ron Clark, submitted a purchase agreement for the purchase of the northerly portion of 7641 Pleasant Avenue, which is referred to in our drawings as C1, and a small city-owned property in the northwest corner of the same block, which was parcel C2. And on June 12, 2012, the City Council rejected by a 4-to-1 vote Mr. Clark's offer to purchase the 2 parcels. And his attorney, Mr. Susig, has submitted a letter dated June 15, 2012, requesting that the City Council reconsider its decision. And in accordance with our rules, the City Council is allowed to reconsider prior decisions in most circumstances. And if they wish to reconsider that matter, it can be brought up by any one of the council members under our current parliamentary rules, which is the Sturgis Code of Conduct. Any member on the council may make that motion, and it need not be someone who voted on either side at the last decision. That would have been true under Robert's rules, but this is a different set of rules. And the council might consider a prior decision if new facts or policy considerations have come to light, so that the council believes its prior decision requires further discussion or possible reversal. And Mr. Clark, through his attorney, has asserted several bases for his request, which are listed below. And then the city attorney has responded to each of those items, and I am going to go through them. The first one says that by rejecting the offers to purchase, the city council rejected land use applications without following the process required by the city zoning ordinance. And our city attorney response is that the procedures in the city zoning ordinance do not apply to the sale of land. The city followed the required procedure under its city charter for the proposed sale of land when we acted on at the June 12th meeting. Mr. Clark's assertion is that the city violated the preliminary agreement between the HRA and Ron Clark by rejecting the offer to purchase the properties. And our city attorney response is that the city was not a party to the preliminary agreement and cannot breach an agreement to which it was not a party. To the contrary, REC Inc. and the HRA entered into a right of entry and standstill agreement with the city dated May 16, 2011, which allowed REC to enter the city property to perform land surveys and geotechnical testing. And that agreement explicitly provided, nothing herein shall be construed as obligating the city to subsequently agree to sell the city property to the HRA or Ron Clark. And secondly, as agreeing to any terms of the sale, or thirdly, as agreeing to any potential use or development of the city property in the event of a sale. Mr. Clark's assertion is that the offer is consistent with the comprehensive plan, and the city is therefore mandated to approve the offer. And the response from the city attorney is that the comprehensive plan does not include goals and policies about promoting affordable housing in the city, but the comprehensive plan does not address, it does include those goals, but it doesn't address desirable densities of affordable housing or appropriate a mix of affordable and market rate housing within the developments or the neighborhoods. Moreover, the city council is not under any legal mandate to sell city-owned properties simply because a proposed use is consistent with the comprehensive plan. And the council identified several reasons for not selling the property that did not relate to land use. Mr. Clark's attorney has asserted that Ron Clark has the right to purchase and develop the C3 parcel alone, and that standalone development may make development of C1 and C2 more difficult. And the attorney's response is that that may be, but that's not a legal issue, that's simply a factual issue. Mr. Clark's attorney also asserted that the council's decision not to sell will send a negative message to developers. And again, the city's attorney's response is, again, that's not a legal issue. That may or may not be the case, and that would be a factual issue. Mr. Clark's assertion is that the council violated rules under Sturgis by allowing residents to speak at open forum in opposition to the Pillsbury Commons development. And the attorney's response is that the city does allow people to speak at open forum. We've already just discussed that this evening. on items that are not on the agenda. The only item on the agenda was the land sale. The proposed rezoning and final development plan were not on the agenda, and the speakers were within the rules by speaking on those terms. In any event, the city has the ability to modify its rules and unanimously agree to allow citizens to speak on different topics. Therefore, the council did not violate the rules, but strictly adhered to the rules. And so we've had a request to reconsider it. Any one of the council members up here can vote to make a motion to do that request, and I guess if someone wants to do it, I'd ask them to.
I'm not going to.
Okay. If not, then I'm going to move that we deny the request for reconsideration for the reasons I just went over in the staff report. So that's, I guess, the end of my motion.
I'll second. Any other comment?
My only comment would be is nothing has changed for us to reconsider it. I've had no positive information that came to me since we voted last time. I've heard other things that make me more concerned, not less. So I certainly think that we did the thing in the right form and the right matter before.
Okay. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, I had a comment, and that is that I originally supported this proposal, but I don't believe in tilting at windmills, and I know how to count to three, and we don't have 3 votes on it, so that's why I made my motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Call for the vote. All those in favor signify by in favor of the motion. In favor of the motion, which
The
is
motion
to
is to
deny.
deny request for reconsideration.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 8 is a public hearing. This is consideration to conduct a public hearing and consider a resolution for the modification to the redevelopment plan for the Richfield redevelopment project area and adopting a tax increment financing plan for the 2012-1 Housing Tax Increment Financing District, Pillsbury Commons. The Richfield Property 1 Limited Partnership and Ron Clark Construction and Design, along with Conley Development LLC, which is a wholly owned entity of Ron Clark Developer, have proposed to acquire and redevelop the former north half of the Public Works garage site located at 7641 Pleasant Avenue, along with the adjacent parcel at 211 West 76th Street, former Gleason Mortuary parcel. And in addition, the city-owned parcel at the corner of 76th Street and the railroad tracks. The proposed development includes a 70-unit affordable housing development that includes a 52-unit apartment building and 18 townhomes. The developer has submitted a request for tax increment assistance for the proposed development in the amount of $530,082. And we have an attached letter with that. And on March 27th, 2012, the City Council adopted a resolution calling for a public hearing regarding the establishment of a modification to the redevelopment plan for the Richfield redevelopment project area and the proposed establishment of a Pillsbury Commons tax increment financing district related to the proposed development. The Housing and Redevelopment Authority's financial consultants, Ellers and Associates, have drafted the attached modification to Richfield's redevelopment plan for the establishment of the 2012-1 Housing TIF District. The cost of preparing this document were borne by the developer. However, all work was directed by the HRA staff in the best interest of the HRA. This document identifies the boundaries of the proposed TIF district, states the legal authority for the establishment of such a district, and makes findings associated with the proposed district, and including a finding that this project could not occur but for the use of TIF as drafted. The TIF district includes the city-owned parcel and the HRA-owned parcel described above. As its June 18th, 2012 meeting, the HRA denied the TIF plan modification and denied the approval of the proposed development agreement. The HRA also rejected the developer's offer to purchase the HRA property for the development. The City Council previously refused the developer's offer to purchase 2 city parcels for the development. As a result, the developer lacks the necessary property to complete the housing development as currently contemplated in the TIF plan. Staff recommends denying the modification of the redevelopment plan and the TIF plan because the development contemplated in the TIF plan is no longer feasible. This is a public hearing, so I will open the public hearing and ask anyone if you are going to step forward to speak. You have 3 minutes. I am going to time you to try to keep this on time, and I ask that people not repeat the same comments if you're going to, and that those comments will be directed about the housing and tax increment financing district, since that is the agenda item. Would anyone like to come forward and speak?
Gislyn Ball, 7627 Harriet Avenue South. I just wanted to gently remind the City Council that the financing breakdown for the taxes that we'll be receiving from this property that we extended out over 30 years. I hope you guys have had a chance to confirm the numbers that I gave you. In that statement, I noted that if we leave it fallow for 15 years, we'll still see more tax benefits after 30 years than if we go ahead with this project. And that was all I wanted to say.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Would anyone else like to come forward?
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The public hearing is closed. At this time, I would make a motion to adopt a resolution denying modification of the redevelopment plan for the Richfield Development Project area and rejecting a tax increment financing plan for the 2012-1 Housing Tax Increment Financing District.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
I would just like to say on the record that we sold the one, or put an option on one piece of property that ended up, there was going to be TIF on this thing. When we saw what happened with Menards and the cost of land that they bought from the previous Chi-Chi's restaurant, and from the sale of the Candlewood site, this project was, had it gone forward, would have been buying our land very, very cheap compared to what's been selling. Usually I hear the statement that this plan wouldn't happen except for, and you know what, here's a prime example that this land is valuable enough that we can do this in a different way. So I'm just amazed that there had to be any TIF on this project at all.
Any other comments? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries. And Councilmember Ogie, you have the next item.
Yep. This is conducting a first reading of an ordinance rezoning 211 West 76th Street and 7641 Pleasant Avenue. The proposed rezoning contemplated development of 3 city-owned parcels and 1 Housing and Redevelopment Authority-owned property, all in the block between 76th and 77th Street, the railroad tracks, and Pillsbury Avenue. That development is no longer feasible due to recent actions taken by the City Council and the HRA, and because of the Council's concerns over a lack of reasonable policy guidelines to address the appropriate mix of market rate and affordable housing throughout the community for infill construction and multifamily housing projects. On June 25th, the Planning Commission will consider the following actions. Consideration of rezoning to designate 7641 Pleasant Avenue and 211 West 76th Street as planned multifamily residential from industrial. Consideration of whether the proposed tax increment finance TIF plan and related documents are consistent with the comprehensive plan, and consideration of whether the proposed sale of publicly owned parcels for inclusion in the development is consistent with the comprehensive plan. Staff has recommended to the Planning Commission that they deny the actions due to the City Council and HRA's earlier actions to reject the proposals from the developer to sell the publicly owned land where the development is proposed. And I'd like to add, I believe by this time that the Planning Commission did vote, was it unanimously not to rezone? I didn't get to see the meeting, so I'm not sure what the outcome was.
That is correct, Councilmember Rogi. Madam Mayor, on the rezoning, the Planning Commission voted unanimously not to rezone. On the other issues, I believe they took no action.
Okay, thanks for your help there. As a result, the developer lacks the necessary consent of the property owners, which are the city and the HRA, to process a land use application for the proposed development. Staff recommends denying approval of the zoning ordinance amendment since the project is no longer feasible. At the June 12th meeting, council members expressed concerns about the city's lack of a policy related to the concentration of affordable housing. Council members' comments echoed similar comments that have been made by the HRA members and the Planning Commission members. The staff concurs that although the city's comprehensive plan identifies the provision of affordable housing as a goal, the comprehensive plan does not adequately address the manner in which that goal should be achieved or the appropriate densities of or mix of affordable and market rate housing within neighborhoods. Although the city's comprehensive plan was approved by the Metropolitan Council, the Metropolitan Council has not addressed the issue of concentration of affordable housing in Richfield as it has in other metropolitan areas such as the city of Minneapolis. Staff proposes to undertake a study and working with the HRA will develop a formal housing policy that addresses those and other issues. Staff anticipates a process that will afford opportunity to input from city officials, the public, and interested parties. Upon final adoption of the housing policy, staff will request the Planning Commission's consideration of appropriate amendments to the city's comprehensive plan. The policy issues here are that the City Council and HR have rejected the developer's proposal to purchase the publicly owned land. Therefore, they lack the necessary consent of the property owners, which are the city and the HRA, to process the land use application. And the city is concerned that other than the city's senior high-rises, the project proposes a significant density, 24 dwelling units per acre, of only affordable housing on one block in the city. Given the city's current identified concentration of affordable units in the city and the resulting concentration of families who meet the income requirements for affordable housing, the issue has arisen of whether the concentration of affordable housing projects are proposed by the developer is reasonable. In addition, the council is concerned with the absence of guidelines to assist the city as to what is an appropriate mix of market rate and affordable housing to meet the city's housing goals and to maintain the viability of the city and its existing residential neighborhoods, which should be addressed before the city makes an irrevocable decision to rezone the land necessary for Pillsbury Commons. The city and its HRA need to study further the recently released Stantec report in light of the housing requirements in the 2020 comprehensive plan to determine the appropriate mix of market rate and affordable housing for these targeted areas, including the site and throughout the city. If the Met Council is correct and the city's population does grow at least 10% over the next decade, it is critical that the city develop a reasonable standard to address the following important policy issues. A, the appropriate mix generally of market rate and affordable housing throughout the city in light of the current level of affordability. B, the appropriate mix of market rate and affordable housing for the identified sites for medium to high density housing in the comp plan. C, the use of incentives like government financing tools such as TIF, bonuses, and zoning code to provide for a mix of housing types and price ranges. The appropriate mix of market rate and affordable housing to address the creation of a disproportionate share of concentrated low-income housing in already poor segregated residential neighborhoods. And E, the appropriate mix generally of market rate and affordable housing to address unintended negative impacts on adjacent single-family residential properties and neighborhoods. So what I'd like to do is, by motion, deny the first reading of the attached ordinance rezoning 211 West 76th Street and 7641 Pleasant Avenue from industrial to planned multifamily residential.
Second.
Madam Mayor,
Please.
members of the council, when we were putting these agenda items together, this item, number 9, was going to be combined with number 11. Anyway, that didn't happen. And you need to adopt findings of fact when you make a decision on a land use matter such as this. So I would recommend that the motion made by the council be amended to also adopt the findings of fact as set forth in the resolution in item 11, and that be part of the motion to deny.
Okay, to adopt the findings,
The findings of fact that are set forth in the resolution at item 11.
On page 11-3.
Okay.
Or 11-1, starting there.
That one. You-
May I just make a motion to amend,
11.3 here, yeah.
To-
Okay, so I can just make the motion to amend it, right?
please?
Okay, and I will also make a motion to amend the motion to adopt the findings of fact in the resolution of item number 11, specifically findings of fact. All right?
I'll second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember Elliott.
Just
you,
to
Mayor.
clarify for the record, I apologize again, but the council's vote was on the motion as amended.
Correct, as amended.
Thank you, Mayor. This item for consideration is a second reading authorizing the sale of real property at 7641 Pleasant Avenue South, referred to as parcel C3 to REC Inc. On June 14, 2011, the City Council approved and entered into an option agreement for the sale of a portion of the former city garage site to REC Inc., DBA Ron Clark Design and Construction, referenced as C3 or option property. This option agreement offers a purchase price of $415,936 for parcel C3. In December 2011, REC Inc. provided a notice to the city that it was exercising its option. The option agreement contemplates that closing will occur by June 30th, 2012, but allows the buyer to extend the closing until October 31st, 2012, by written notice and by making an additional option deposit of $5,000. The option property is part of a larger parcel, and closing on the sale of the option property will require subdivision approval. At this time, the developer has not made application for the subdivision approval. Policy matters include that on June 12, 2012, the first reading of an ordinance was considered and approved by the City Council with a 5-0 vote. In accordance with the city charter, the conveyance of city-owned land requires 2 readings of an ordinance for the sale of the land. Legal matters include the fact that the city is obligated by the option agreement to approve the sale of the C3 parcel, and the city attorney is available to answer any additional questions the council may have. So at this time, I would move to approve the attached transitory ordinance authorizing the sale of real property at 7641 Pleasant Avenue South portion only, referred to as parcel C3 to REC Inc.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 11 is consideration of a final development plan and conditional use permit for a planned unit development to include a 70-unit development, which includes 18 townhomes and 52-unit apartment building on 7641 Pleasant Avenue, the former Richfield Public Works Garage property, and the former Gleason Mortuary at 211 West 76th Street by Richfield Properties 1 Limited Partnership doing business as Ron Clark Construction and Design and Conley Development. The background is the proposed rezoning contemplation and development of 3 city-owned parcels and the HRA-owned property, all in the block between 76th and 77th Street, the railroad tracks and Pillsbury Avenue. That development is no longer feasible due to the recent actions taken by the City Council and Housing and Redevelopment Authority, and because of the Council's concern over lack of a reasonable policy guideline to address the appropriate mix of market rate and affordable housing throughout the community for infill construction and multifamily housing projects. Staff has recommended denial of this action because the City Council and HRA earlier action to reject the proposals from the developer to sell the publicly owned land where the development is proposed. As a result, the developer lacks the necessary consent of the property owners, the city and the HRA, to process the land use application for the purpose of the development. Staff recommends denying the approval of the final development plan and conditional use permit for a planned unit development since the project is no longer feasible. At the June 12th meeting, council members expressed concern about the city's lack of policy related to the concentration of affordable housing. The council members' comments echoed similar comments that have been made by the HRA members and Planning Commission members. The staff concurs, and although the city's comprehensive plan identifies the provision of affordable housing as a goal, the comprehensive plan does not adequately address the manner at which that goal should be achieved, or the appropriate densities or the mix of affordable and market rate housing within the neighborhoods. Although the city's comprehensive plan was approved by the Metropolitan Council, the Metropolitan Council has not addressed the issue of concentrations of affordable housing in Richfield as it is in other metropolitan areas such as the city of Minneapolis. The staff proposes to undertake a study and, working with the HRA, develop a formal housing policy that addresses those and other issues. Staff anticipates a process that will afford opportunity for input from city officials, the public, and interested parties. Upon a final adoption of the housing policy, staff will request the Planning Commission's consideration of appropriate amendments to the city's comprehensive plan. At this time, I will make a motion. We can have discussion. The motion is to deny the consideration of a final development plan and conditional use permit for a planned unit development to include a 70-unit development that includes 18 townhomes and a 52-unit apartment building at 7641 Pleasant Avenue, the former Richfield Public Works garage property, and the former Gleason Mortuary at 211 West 76th Street by Richfield Properties 1 Limited Partnership, doing business as Ron Clark Construction and Design and Conley Development.
Second.
Any discussion?
I have some. I think it's important to look at the resolutions attached to this particular motion. Since we incorporated the findings of fact in the prior motion, I'd like to read some of them for the record.
Please.
Starting at the bottom of 11.1. City Council, when we were considering the rezoning final development plan and conditional use permit, looked at the following. The location and density of the project has raised important questions concerning the city's ability to reasonably absorb additional affordable housing units, as well as the appropriate mix of market rate and affordable units. An affordable unit is a housing unit priced at or below 30% of gross income of a household, earning 60% of the Twin Cities median family income, which in 2012 for a family of 4 would be $50,340. And the city recently received the Richfield Rental Housing Inventory and NEET assessment prepared by Stantec, called the Stantec Report, and that report concluded that presently 45% of Richfield's renter households have incomes below $35,000 and spend more than 30% of their income towards housing, thereby coming within the definition of affordable housing. And this statistic is higher than the metropolitan area rate and one of the highest rates among Richfield's peer communities in terms of already accommodating affordable housing. And whereas the Metropolitan Council and the Stantec report concluded that there is a need in the city for multifamily affordable housing, and I think everyone up here would agree with that, the Stantec report also concluded that while the present rental stock is comprised of significant amount of one-bedroom, detached or attached units, 724, the vast majority of Richfield's rental housing is already located in buildings with 5 or more units, 4,440. And as a result, the city is already home to a significant number of families presently living in affordable multifamily housing. And whereas other than the city's senior high-rises, the project proposes a significant density, 24 dwelling units per acre, of only affordable housing on one block in the city. And giving the city's currently identified concentration of affordable units in the city and the resulting concentration of families who meet the income requirements for affordable housing. The issue has arisen as to whether the concentration of affordable housing proposed by the project on the site is reasonable. City Council is also concerned that while the city's 2020 comprehensive plan targets a number of areas for medium to high density residential housing, the comp plan does not provide any guidance as to the appropriate target percentages of market rate housing versus affordable housing to guide the zoning activities and future development. And the city has not studied the issue of concentration of affordable housing to determine whether the proposed location of the project and its concentration of affordable housing is reasonable. The city's comprehensive 2020 plan was recently approved by the Met Council, but the Met Council has not addressed the issue of concentration again of affordable housing in the city of Richfield, as it has in other metropolitan areas such as the city of Minneapolis, where the Met Council participated in the deconcentration of affordable housing as a result of the Federal District Court Holman decision. And the Council is also concerned that while the 2020 Comprehensive Plan targets a number of areas for medium to high density residential housing, the comp plan again does not provide any guidance as to the appropriate target percentages of market rate housing versus affordable housing. Okay. So I guess then one other thing, the council does recognize that one of the significant goals of the 2020 Comprehensive Plan is to maintain a diversity of housing types and price ranges pursuant to information in the Stantec report. The project would likely add even more affordable housing concentrated in a one-block area in a community that is already considered to be nearly 100% affordable by metropolitan housing standards. And so those are some of the facts that I think this council has looked at in terms of making its current decision. And I just wanted to make sure they were in the record.
Thank you. Any comments?
I would also like to add that, this property started with the possibility of having single-family townhomes owner-occupied, and we've had people come here talk about different issues in the city about this housing project. The property's been tied up for more than 3 years now. We're past the 3-year mark, and it's sad that we still have gotten really nowhere. We've learned a lot. I've sure learned a lot what happens when you put an option on a property before you know what you're really going to end up with. That's a tough way to go. I think what bothers me the most is some of the things that were found out after the fact. We had a resident come to us and talk about how we were going to have a tough decision to make one night, and later find out that this person actually owns an architectural firm and had worked for the developer in another community, but we were never told that. And the thing that's significant about that is that we hear about all the ethical choices that possibly people can make. I would have thought that one of them, this person could have told us who he was and who he really was. But the most revealing comment that resident made was probably directed at me indirectly when he said, "You're not going to get doctors to come to Richfield, you're not going to get lawyers to come to Richfield, you're not going to get people from uptown to come here." Well, when I found out who he is and what his wife does, it's exactly the person I was talking about, that we need to bring those people to Richfield. And to compare the Oaks with this development is ridiculous, I believe. And he lived in the Oaks, and he wanted to stay in Richfield because of his experience living in the Oaks, and he brought his kids here. That's my whole point, is that's the people we want to come here. We want people to come back with money that they can spend in our community, in our businesses, and our schools. So maybe waiting and killing 3 years of this thing, maybe this will be the best thing for us, because I've learned a lot about development. And I just had to put that on the record.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments, Councilmember?
I'd just like to thank the citizens groups that came forward, let us know what they think should happen in the city of Richfield, enlightened us on a few items that we didn't know about. And so it really helped us put a foundation on the decisions we're making today. And I just wish that it wasn't just one project that they get involved in, what are we going to do next in Richfield, and what might happen to the site if this doesn't go through. So,
thank you. And I would just encourage folks that as the HRA and the Planning Commission look forward at the Stantec report and look at policy, that you be engaged. And we could use your input. So thank you. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember Fitzhenry, you have item 12.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The item 12 is consideration to hire a consultant to perform appraisals and preliminary acquisition services for 13 residential properties along 17th Avenue from 63rd Street to 65th Street. Consistent with the City Council decision at the May 8th, 2012 work session, staff is working towards the acquisition of residential parcels needed for construction of Richfield Parkway between 65th Street and 63rd Street in conjunction with the Richfield Parkway North connection. The connection is included with the Taft Lake Regional Water Quality Improvement Project, which is expected to begin in 2013. The acquisition process, acquisition of 13 residential parcels is proposed to be completed in part through a special assessment bond. It is anticipated that draft purchase agreements would be negotiated contingent upon on a commitment from the residents to sign a petition in support of the project, resulting in the city action to order the project. If the city council does not order the project, the city would not purchase the homes. Staff is asking for permission to hire a consultant to complete the initial phase of the acquisitions, including obtaining appraisals and negotiating purchase agreements. Relocation services will not be included in this phase and will be brought back to the City Council for consideration if the project is ordered for construction. A public information meeting. A neighborhood meeting was held on May 24th, 2012 to review the proposed process with residents. There was a general consensus among the 17th Avenue homeowners present at the meeting to continue with the proposed process. Homeowners not present at the meeting have been contacted about the proposed project and the process. Here's the current schedule. July-August 2012, which will select a consultant and obtain proposals, or appraisals, excuse me. September through October 2012, will obtain petitions and order project, execute purchase agreements, a resolution, and a public hearing. October-November of 2012, we'll hold a public hearing, begin purchasing homes, begin condemnation process if needed, and in fall-winter 2012, there'll be a final design, with 2013 awarding construction, contract, and beginning the work. So I didn't know if staff had anything to add about this project, or you want me to go ahead and move it forward?
Make a motion for a discussion.
Okay. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and make the motion that we authorize staff to hire a consultant to perform appraisal and begin acquisition services for the 13 residential properties on 17th Avenue between 63rd Street and 65th Street needed for the construction of Richfield Parkway.
Second. Please.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a comment about the five folks that were not at the original public hearing. We've been trying to make contact with them, and since the letter went out, we have been able to contact two or three of them. And one of those indicated that their house was in foreclosure, just information that they shared with us that might be worthwhile sharing with the council. And we have at least flyers. Everybody, has flyers left at their door and had personal contact with I believe 3 of the 5 now.
Okay. Go ahead, Councilmember Elliott first.
Well, I do want, my recollection was at the work session, and I don't know that it's going to change our vote on it, but we had a couple options presented, and resident-driven was the option we selected. And you just said that we really haven't contacted them all. I've seen no petition, anything that can put option 2 into play. And it has some fairly serious ramifications in regards to what we were trying to prevent, is limited condemnation and some of the other aspects that would go with being resident-driven. Are we there? Are we still moving in that direction as it being resident-driven?
Madam Mayor, Member Elliott, we're still on track to do a petition from the residents for the project. What we plan to do is to have them have their appraisals in hand so that then that they would sign the petition in light of the appraised value and the contingent draft purchase agreements. So hopefully that all that information would be in place for the resident for them to sign the petition.
And that covers us on the advanced negotiations with the residents and everything. So we're getting that in place, but at the same time, it's still going to be resident-driven as opposed to council-driven.
Right, absolutely council-driven. The reason we put that in there, if we get to a point and suppose 12 of 13, sign the petition and are in favor of it, it would be the council decision on whether to proceed or not. Whether if it's 11, 12, 13 people that sign the petition, it would be a council decision at that point.
Okay, yeah, that was, I just wanted to make sure that we're moving in that direction as opposed to option one.
Absolutely.
Councilmember Rogi.
That's not my recollection, so help me out here. If we end up with 10, 11, or 12 people, but not, I'm sorry, if we end up with 11, 12 people that want to move, and one or two that don't, we've never done a condemnation on a house, correct? We've threatened, but we've never done one.
We commenced a condemnation proceeding for the project where the McDonald's used to be. The name is just escaping me for a second. Is that called Woodlake Plaza? Mm-hmm. Yes. We commenced a couple of condemnation actions there, but they were settled very quickly after they were commenced.
So
we've never acquired.
Because it's always been stated that we've never taken.
We have never acquired a residential property by condemnation.
Just the threat of it.
We've commenced an action but never completed one. Yes.
So I'm not trying to be funny, but that happened to me. So I hope that nobody's saying it hasn't happened. I got the knock on the door. Okay, I lived on 6333 Portland. I don't live there anymore, not by my choice. So what I'm getting at though is what would happen to this project. I guess I'm still amazed that after all the complaining all these years, that you had a hard time finding 5 people that wanted to respond to you.
Oh. Councilmember, we weren't able to catch them home. We left letters and asked them to call us, and we've done what we can, but they're, for whatever reason, we don't know.
Could be vacations, could be anything.
Could be vacations, we really don't know, and I hate to speculate why they haven't responded, but
could be a language.
One of the things, before we come back, everybody will have to be contacted and work out the appraisal. So this will begin a process where there needs to be contact in order to begin the appraisal process.
Okay, and what happens if 2 people say, no, I don't want to leave?
It will be brought back to the council, and I'd like to separate 2 decisions. That they may not want to sign the petition, but that doesn't mean that they want, if the project moves forward, they may negotiate and settle and not go to any condemnation process, even if they weren't in favor of they may not sign the petition, or that for whatever reason they may not sign the petition. But all of that information will be available to the council at the time the council has a decision whether they want to proceed with the project or not, after we have all these discussions with the property owners.
Could this be a project where we do something around a house that won't leave, like the Pillsbury project, where we were going to go around? The original plan was to build everything around the lady that lives there, and then when she wants to sell, we would buy it?
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Rogi, I suppose anything is possible. If there's one holdout, what would we do to accommodate somebody that wanted to live there for another 6 months or a year or 2 years or whatever it turns out to be? Those options will be brought to you, and we'll know that more once we have a chance to enter negotiations with the property owners.
Comment?
Okay.
Go ahead.
One of the things that's different about this is not a development thing as much as it is a roadway project,
Right.
where we do have the powers to condemn, even under the new law, to complete the roadway system. And so, I mean, it's a little different in terms of being able to build it without having, you can't have the road shut out because...
No, but you could take the right of way and leave the house.
Yeah, that's the whole
Yeah,
point.
that's
We
a
were told that we
possibility.
could do the
Yeah.
road without taking anybody's house.
Yes.
And we said,
Yeah.
no,
Right
it's
away.
time to help these
Yeah.
neighbors
Yeah.
move.
Yes, and I think that it's long overdue. Councilmember.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was at that meeting, and most of residents there said it's about time to me. They've been waiting on this project a long time. I think it was made very clear at the meeting that if you decided not to go, that's fine. They'd still do the project, but you might be stepping off your doorstep into a bike path. So I think the staff did a very good job of letting people know what's going on there. They also did caution them, don't go sell your house today, because we're not in that far down the road yet. And from what I heard, most of the residents, with the exception of one, were in favor of it and were asking us why it took so long. So.
And even more important is don't go buy another one.
Yeah, until we have.
Until you've got to
We
close
did
them.
say that during a major project here in Richfield, so please, even the neighbors, tell your neighbors to not make mistakes this time so you don't hear about them for the next 20 years.
And I know this
Wait
was.
till that check is in your hand and you're at your bank.
Yeah, and I really, it's been hard, I think it was hard pressed for us too when the economy tanked and we thought we were going to move forward with this project several years ago. And we're sorry that that happened to you too, because we feel the pain of that economic downturn too, and I know it was hard on you, so thank you for bearing with us. Appreciate that a lot. Any other comments? All those in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. City managers report.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, I don't have a separate report this evening.
Claims and payroll.
So moved.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting adjourned? Meeting adjourned. Thank you. Thank you. We don't have a cell phone here.
I haven't.